Did you know that Google personalizes many searches by city and Also Asked is the only tool to access live People Also Asked data at city level? Try for free at alsoasked.com.
Tired of SEO guesswork? Quadra's AI agent goes deeper to uncover high-impact optimizations and completes hours of SEO in minutes. Get started now.
I was going to say that SEO with Fat Joe is as peaceful as this, but then the birds are all having fights.
Right, that is a tough act to follow, and I don't appreciate it. I don't have movies, I do have tattoos, some of them are hidden, you don't want to see those. So I'm going to be talking about scaling AI, actually LLMs, really, let's face it, on a budget, but responsibly. Now, first, this is me. I love fishing, head of digital marketing. Too curious to specialize. I had a client yesterday tell me this is not a winning strategy, but it is me. And catch me on LinkedIn. When I'm not fishing, I'm reading fantasy novels. Starting out. Now, I didn't get here alone. These are all of the people that inspired me. You probably know some of these names: Lazarina, Brittany, Kathleen, and the lovely Ross from Indeed. I have an embarrassing story with all of them, but probably the most embarrassing one is with Lazarina, when I ended up looking like a stalker when I met her. I am not a stalker, so if you see her, please tell her. Right, first experiment. Now, when ChatGPT came out, like everybody else, I wanted to test it, so I went head-to-head on a content piece, how AI is changing SEO. And to go with the content piece, I created this wonderful, beautiful photo with Dali. Now, this is absolutely atrocious. Who the F stands in a ring like that? I mean, I wouldn't stand in a ring like that, and I'm telling you, if I was a man, I wouldn't be standing in a ring like that in this picture. But I guess this is how Dali thinks I would stand in a ring. Like I'm selling cars in the 70s. So chauvinism is alive and kicking when it comes to LLMs. Now, this started me thinking, what do we mean by responsible AI? The challenges. Now, clients want to scale, particularly those on a tight budget who want to scale fast. The second challenge, a desire to provide every client with a great service, no matter the size of a retainer. But can we scale AI, scale SEO using AI responsibly? I had no idea, but I was going to find out. Now, this is what happens when you just leave it up to LLMs. This client was using LLM-powered programmatic to create their content. Obviously, they got absolutely slammed by Google. It worked till it didn't. Now, don't do it this way, because obviously their revenue got impacted massively and they burned their domain. But for me, what was even more problematic is that it's not just about the business impact. It's also much worse. Carbon emissions. Now, if you train one model, you're actually using 5 times the emissions of an average car in a lifetime of an average car. So that's just one thing. Water consumption. Using ChatGPT 10 to 50 times, you're actually using half a liter of water. So yesterday, when everybody was walking around and showing their lovely pictures that were created by AI, unfortunately, that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about the amount of stuff and paper and pictures that are flying around, when actually, why? Why would you, what's the cost of that, really? I don't want to depress you, but probably am. Then there's loss of trust and transparency. Now, you work with organizational data. You do not just share that data from your clients with an LLM without thinking first. Ethical principles, avoidance of harm, and let's face it, that bias, that picture was absolutely atrocious. And I could go on, I'm not going to, you'll be happy to hear. And this is just a tip of the iceberg. If you look at the European Union AI Act, you'll see that there's a lot in there that we need to be thinking about. So, scale, for me, even on a budget, should be about sustainable growth for both the planet we live in, and it should be about responsibility. So before we dive into the examples, who here has been to the session on tokenizations and embeddings, and I think that was today or yesterday. Anybody? Okay, one there. Okay, not many. All right. Now, this is going to be an interesting conversation. The first term you need to understand the examples is obviously transformer models. Now, that's the latest type of deep learning that's used to do natural language processing tasks. You'll see why this is important. So ChatGPT, Gemini, all of those are transformer models. Temperature. Now, you probably heard this before, but there is a parameter on an LLM that you can use to play around with the responses. You know, if it's low temperature, the response of an LLM, the prediction, is going to be quite conservative. If it's a high temperature, it might be a little bit more creative. So let's look at how that looks like in practice. This is a brilliant explainer from Cornell. And you can see here, I put the jaguar lives in the wild, 0.2, all makes sense, temperature is low. What happens when it's, sorry, this should be a different one. So when I increase the temperature to almost 10, what actually was chosen was water. Now, the reason why that is, later on I found out, is because Jaguar actually has some kind of like speedboat as well, Jaguar the company. So increasing your temperature will get the model to be a little bit, sometimes, too creative. Now, the next tokenization. I love cats. This is my cat, Leo. I know him as Leo. You know him as Cat. ChatGPT knows him as 3797. So it's basically a numerical representation of cat. Now, those tokens are then turned into something called vector embeddings, which is basically a way to capture the meaning of tokens by placing them into a multidimensional space. Now, this all makes sense when you have cat, pet, jaguar, but what if you have jaguar and then you have jaguar? It's the same word, yeah? So how do we know that we're talking about jaguar the car and not jaguar the animal? Well, by placing that in the corpus of the other vectors in your article, for example, into those dimensions. So you look at the relationship of the words around it. So if I have a text that says, Jaguar was speeding 100 miles an hour down the motorway, it's likely that I'm talking about a car. If I say, Jaguar lives in the wild and has spots, it's likely I'm talking about the animal. Now, one of the ways to do this is to measure the similarity between the two vectors by calculating the cosine of the angle between them. This is how it looks like in practice. Now, obviously, this is not how it looks like in practice, but it gives you a bit of an idea of what we mean by cosine similarity. And there's a really, really great, it's called embedding projector project, where this is a little bit more multidimensional and a great way to understand it. Moving on, digging deeper. So these are some of the more scientific pieces that I would recommend you check out if you really want to understand the science behind LLMs. Okay, let's talk about examples. Now, these are some of the few examples that we have at Vixen Digital. There's more of them, but I thought maybe a selection would be good. Workflows. Now, one of my pet peeves with smaller companies that don't have the budget is they come to you and they haven't done the foundations right. So they have not thought about who their customer is. They haven't done any market research. They haven't done like the foundational stuff that you need for me to be able to do my SEO side of things. Well, in our company, what we do is then use LLMs to create that research for our clients. Now, I'm saying this not as we just asked ChatGPT what Industry X is. It's not about that. This workflow is created in make.com. You can use other tools, like I heard Nathan is brilliant as well. That's my next one on the list. And it basically goes from a Google Sheet where we input a ton of data. So we will input anything that we found out from the discovery call, anything that we found out from a demo, anything that we've spoken to the customer service, sales reps, all of that, into a sheet for a particular client. Then we're going to send that to ChatGPT. We're going to use a mini model because it is more sustainable. I don't need a massive model for this. Then I'm like, the complicated thing is actually here. It's a nightmare to get that data, then for it to use both of those things, pass it into a template that we usually use for our kind of market research / persona audience research. And once that's done, we send it to the client, we check it, everything is checked, we send it to the client, and then we have a conversation, we do a call to go through the research and to see what's right, what's not right. Really important, team input at every stage. I mean, you don't just build it and let it run. Right. Who here has done any custom GPTs? Can you put your hand up if you're done? Any experiences with them? Mark, what's your experience with them?
Mixed.
Mixed. All right. So one of the things that my experience with them is mixed. We do them for clients on small budgets. I have a client that has a very small content team, and they want to use it for content writing. Now, you know, I really don't like AI-generated content. I think it's peeing in the community pool and buggering up the internet. However, this client has an extremely small team, and as long as you do it responsibly, it can work, and for them it works. So what we do is load it, again, with a bunch of first-party data into the knowledge base for the custom GPT. And then the output is much better. And obviously, you're going to check all of that. This is all going to be checked. And then, as SEOs, sometimes what we do is we put elements, ideas of where the client should be, I hate that, but you know, kind of adding EEAT. You can't really add EEAT. It's basically a little prompt that says, if you have a case study about this, this is where we would suggest you add it. Or, you know, we found this on your website. We think that that's great experience that you should put in this article, and so forth. Right, let's get a little bit more technical. Mining topics. Now, I've been obsessed with Reddit, and I know many people have been obsessed with Reddit. And this is what I host locally, which is basically a Python script that's hooked up to Reddit API, and then it pulls the top 100 posts from Reddit for a particular subreddit, and then it used something called KBERT and BERT-Topic, two LLMs, that are brilliant at classifications. Now, this is important. You need to understand which LLM to use for what. If you tried using ChatGPT for classification, it is pants. It is awful, so don't do it. These two models are brilliant. This one extracts the keywords from it, and this one clusters them into topics. Again, you have to check everything once you get the output. Now, once that's done, what we do is we run that research, plus talk to the client about other topics. We qualify the crap out of all of this. And then we, again, run what they already have, all of the URLs that they already have on these topics. We extract the metadata because the website is well optimized. So we don't want to tokenize the whole bloody page, all of the content, because it's wasteful. So what we do is we tokenize the metadata and then use cosine similarity, and again, BERT topic, to understand from these URLs what you have on the website, how do they fill in these topics that we have found on Reddit that are important and that you've said are important. And then we get something beautiful like this. Now, this is a way for me to show a client, you have not a lot of pieces actually on back pain, but what you have is getting you some traffic. You'll see that I've put in content volume, position, clicks, lots of different data sets into this. So I pulled impressions and clicks and GA4 data and all of that to be able to plot it so that I know which topics are covered enough, which topics are not covered enough and are a massive opportunity. And it's basically a gold mine for creating your content calendars. All right, and now everybody loves an agent. Now they're everywhere. But I created a little one using just a GitHub browser use library. It's super easy. You host it locally. Anybody who has ever done Google Trends knows that there's no API. The unofficial Python API for Google Trends is buggered, doesn't work anymore. So I thought, okay, let's do a little agent. So basically what this does is goes on to Google Trends and looks at the trends for our client. We run it for 1 minute each day. We review all of the output. We pay less than $1 for it. And it's saved at least 30 minutes a day from one of my team, which is, for me, brilliant. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about a framework to start thinking about things responsibly. I only have 3 minutes, I have to hurry. Company level consideration. Now, we have just been awarded the ISO 42001, which is an responsible AI framework. Now, ISO is great if you're not treating it as a checklist, because that's not what it's meant to be. For us, it's not just this checklist, but even if you don't have, I don't know, a few thousand to invest in an ISO, what you can do on a company level is put AI into the contracts. Don't just hide from your clients that you're using AI. Have an AI policy on your website. I love the fact that now we have a really robust AI policy because of that process. And put do not train settings, and don't use customer data. Project level considerations. Now, in the design stage, this is the one that I struggle the most. Define your problem. I am somebody I start like this. I want to do this, and I want to do this, and then I want to do this, and then I want to, and it balloons. But then I focus. You need to define your problem before you decide if an LLM at all is a solution for the problem that you have. And then once you know that, you go compare providers, see what their policy is, where they're hosted. The other day I found out that one of the amazing agent tools that I'm using is actually in China, so I'm not going to be testing it anymore, unfortunately. Find the best model. This is what I was saying about understanding which model to use for what. And for God's sakes, clean your data. There's no reason for you to tokenize everything and put everything through an LLM. Think about what you actually need to have there before you just fire it up and not think about what's it doing to the world that we live in. In the develop stage, QA in batches. Now, QAing is super important for responsibility, but it's also important for accuracy. So don't just run your script on everything every time. Do it in batches. It will improve your accuracy and it will be more responsible. Always check outputs. I mean, we have QA checks on each one of the stages. Test settings. So the temperature is like there's so many settings you can play around with to get a better output. But even if you just play around with the temperature, you're on a good path. Refine your prompts. I mean, that's like a no-brainer. And deploy. Always review outputs and review it with your clients. Set up your feedback loop. All of our clients are involved in all of our LLMs projects, and we ask, what do you think about this, and all of that. And continuously monitor and evaluate. Don't just let it loose and then, forget about it. Okay, some results. These are some of the results that we've had recently with a client where we use LLMs quite a lot. And we even won an award for it. So we won 2, and one of them is silver in best use of AI. It's Dynamic Digital Impact Awards. So I think it can be done. I think you can scale with LLMs responsibly, even on a small budget. And thank you very much. This will be available. And buy this book as well. Great book. A bit of promo. Arij has done a great job here. So if you don't have this book, get it.